old-fashioned tea room, which we thought would be a very apt setting to discuss your new novel, A Gentleman in Moscow, which takes place in entirety in a Russian hotel.
It's a perfect spot, we're going to tell you.
Why Russia?
Why Russia? In, I guess it was 2009, when I was traveling for business. I was in the investment field for 20 years, and I was in a hotel in Geneva for the 10th time, and I thought to myself, as I looked around the lobby and even recognized some people in the lobby, what would it be like if you had to live in this place? I mean, this is a nice hotel, but I mean, if you had to really live here for the rest of your life. And as I went upstairs, I thought, yeah, that's right. It's an idea for a book. Guy has to live in a hotel. And when I wrote that idea down, I thought to myself, it shouldn't be by choice. This character, who I've started to invent, he should have to live in the hotel by force. And that immediately made me think of Russia, where house arrest has existed for centuries. And I had seen the Metropole in 1998 when I was in Moscow. I had sort of walked through the hotel. I knew it was right there, almost across the street from the Kremlin and around the corner from the secret police. This grand hotel with a lot of Russian history. And so I, right on the first day, thought, that's where this story is going to take place. The notion is that in 1922, and the book opens at a Bolshevik tribunal, where this 30-year-old aristocrat, Alexander Rostov, is being interviewed. And it comes out in the course of this brief transcript that he wrote a poem as a younger man that was popular with the revolutionary generation. They saw it as kind of a call to arms. So as they're interviewing him, they know that they can't condemn him to death because he has some friends in high places. But it becomes clear in the course of the conversation that he's an unrepentant aristocrat. And the tribunal views him, therefore, as a danger to society, in essence, if he were to get out and share his views. So, as a compromise, they tell him, you can go back to the Metropole Hotel where you've been staying, and if you ever come out of the hotel again, you will be shot. And the book then opens with him being marched out of the Kremlin across Red Square and through the doors of this historic hotel, where he and you, the reader, spend the next 30 years. And that's I think in many ways one of the biggest challenges of the book for me. My job is to fill that building with enough life, enough personality, that once you're inside that you don't feel claustrophobic within the space, that it sort of grows around you and becomes a bigger and bigger environment in which to have life unfold.
While the Count is living in the hotel, all of this change, all of these sort of scary new politics are taking place outside the doors.
Right.
And you sort of bring those things in with a light touch.
Yes.
We know that they're going on, but it's not the main event of the story. Can you tell me a little bit about constructing that?
That is one of the great challenges of this particular work, to say, well, I'm writing a book about Russia from almost the entire Stalinist era, in which you have the famines and the upheaval, and then you have purges, and you have the Second World War. I mean, it was a very, very challenging and difficult time for Russia and for the Russian populace, without question. So it's a very delicate balance. And on the one hand, you have the Count, who's trapped in the hotel and who's a very optimistic figure. But there is a separate voice in the book. It's almost like a secondary narrator you get the sense is kind of outside the hotel, who is witnessing the challenges of the common Russian with a much more acute and cynical eye, and that voice sort of begins to appear initially in the form of footnotes, sort of elaborating on something which the Count has observed, or critiquing it, or countering it to some degree. And as the story goes on, that voice grows a little bit stronger. You hear a little bit more of what's happening outside the hotel. And as you get to know the other characters in the book, they may leave the hotel. So you can kind of begin to follow them a little bit in terms of their experience outside.
Aside from an interest in manners and morals, what else is similar between your first novel, Rules of Civility, and A Gentleman in Moscow? And what's different?
Yeah, at some level, one of the reasons I think I chose that project is because it contrasts in so many ways with Rules of Civility. In Rules of Civility, the central character is a 25-year-old woman of a working class background who's trying to climb the ranks socially. Here it's a man going from the ages of 30 to 60 who's coming from a sophisticated background and facing privation. One, you have kind of the run of Manhattan. The other, you're really trapped inside a building for the most part. One takes place over 12 months. The other takes place over 30 years. Gentleman in Moscow does. And I think finally, Rules of Civility, because it really is about sort of that moment in life at 25 where you're reinventing or you're inventing yourself for the first time. There are no children or parents in that book virtually. But this book is very different. It's very much about generational relationships, and you see the interaction of those different ages in contrast to each other, and how that plays out over the 30-year period.